Uh, would you like me to turn the video on, or is it okay if I keep it off?
Keep the video off. It will
For
give
sure.
you better, how to say,
More
connectivity.
flexibility, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
You get
Thank
better
you.
bandwidth
Oh, yeah.
when your video is off. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, I can send that.
How about doing a little intro? Uh, so we have Hamid and Samina. Go ahead, Samina, do a little intro about yourself, so we get to know you a little better. And same
Sure.
thing with Hamid after Samina is done.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah, but little bit it's weak. The audio is weak.
Okay, I'm going to quickly check that up.
Maybe you need to get closer to the mic or something.
Yeah, is it fine now?
Yeah, quite okay.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Samina, and I'm from Richmond, British Columbia, in Canada. Well, um, what did you like to know? My career-wise?
Maybe career, education background, whatever you like to share.
Okay, I'm a graduate in business administration. I've been living in Canada since about 9 years now. Uh, uh, I have I've also done a diploma in fashion technology, and my work related. I've mostly been into the administrative side of organizations. After coming into Canada, I worked for an aviation company where I happened to get a vast experience in many departments as a technical coordinator to even technical writer. My last job was a technical writer, and I've also been a flight operations analyst. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I look forward to, um, this training where uh, it's a new field to me, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you. And like I mentioned earlier also to Samina that one aspect in her all the educational and training background is her ability for technical writing, technical documentation. Now, to your surprise, even though technical writing has big importance in testing, I have met so many people in testing field when I told them, has anyone taken any technical writing class? For them, it was like, what is technical writing?
Okay.
So good that you have this edge. Your edge will be this competitive edge you have is will help you when you are setting up some kind of standards in the group.
Yes.
Um, you will have like that edge over others to do that. uh, Technical writing is very important in testing, and you will get to know why as you progress in
Okay.
the class. Okay,
Okay.
great. Mr. Hamid, is it
Uh,
Hamid or Hamid?
it's Hamid Hussein. Yeah,
Hamid,
it's
okay,
Hamid.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been in Canada for 2 years now. I recently moved from Pakistan. To be honest, I've been in 3 universities to date. Haven't really graduated. I don't really like the layout of schools anymore, to be honest. So I've been doing a lot of work on my own. I've done a lot of freelance work on Upwork, content writing, marketing campaigns for SEO and SMO. I've worked with Amnesty International, Medicine Sans Frontier, and Plan International for their canvassing campaigns in downtown Vancouver. So that was actually established in downtown and West Van. So we worked with a lot of clients that were a bit above the average income we've got in downtown. So the demographics were a bit more for the elite class. So we honestly, in essence, just hit richer neighborhoods, trying to get them to sign up for charities. I've got experience writing a lot of content, so for various institutions. So when you do SMO or SEO campaigns, you do have to fill in a lot of content. So there is that aspect to it as well. But otherwise, I think the thing that got me into this whole paradigm was just the prospect of getting, a bit more experience in a different, a career choice. So, just talking to people here and there, I got into the idea of giving quality assurance a chance. So, the rest is really history.
Great. Mashallah, nice experience. And one thing I noticed about you, which is becoming sort of common, but it when as a human being, when we try something new, it takes time to change our direction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like when we are climbing mountain and we are like halfway there,
Oh
nobody
yeah.
wants to come down the mountain and then take a different route up to the
Oh yeah.
mountain, because this is our mindset. And there could be a better, different route, which you guys have sort of now decided to do. That you're coming down the mountain and taking a different route up to the top of the mountain or where you want to be. Now, what made me, notice about your experiences and education was you said, hey, I did education, so halfway through or more than close to halfway through, close to finishing, but decided not to pursue much. Uh, it's good if you can finish your degree, okay? But there is problem with our education system, especially the way things are changing. It's changing so rapid that if you finish a 4-year technical, school, like let's say a bachelor's of computer science or electronics engineering, by the time you're on the 3rd year, your 1st year is already obsolete. Okay, so your 1st year tuition just went down the drain. So when you're on the 4th year, uh, well, to be even being very modest, 1.5 year or 2 years is gone down to the drain. Now, this doesn't mean I'm telling you like, hey, you know what, stop taking bachelor's degree, because I'm telling my son to make sure, he gets a minimum bachelor's degree, minimum, right? Because maybe in future, it may become a problem that, some company will be like very adamant, no, you have to have bachelor's degree before you make you a manager, right? So I don't want your career get stifled because of that, right? It's good to have, but to get a job in IT, no degree is required. Okay, because things are changing so fast, they don't care much now whether you have a bachelor's degree or not. End of the day, it's going to be, can you perform the job? So yeah, that's where it is ending up. Now, one thing I would highly recommend, because you're picking up a field where it's changing drastically, don't try to become master at one thing, because chances at the moment you become master at one thing, that thing will become obsolete. When I first started my training, even my class itself has changed so much. Every year I have to introduce something different, otherwise my students won't survive. There used to be a tool I used to teach. I spent like a whole lot of time in becoming good at it, so I could teach my students, like make sure they nail the interview first shot. That tool is pretty much obsolete now. Nobody cares about it. And instead of that, I'm teaching a new tool. Just so you know, in that tool, that similar tools, this is the 4th tool I have picked for my students to teach. Okay, so just imagine in a span of from 2004 to now, this is the 4th tool I'm teaching, where the previous 3 I learned and then I just dumped it because it has no value. Okay. All right. Long story short, let's. Do you all have any questions before I begin the training session?
I think I'm good, Hussein.
Good. All right. Okay. So few things. Let me bring up the. So this class is about software testing and software quality assurance. You may hear them being used synonymously, but there's a big difference between the two. Okay. We will, that's the first thing we will start from. I mean, in our session, we'll start from and then build more into it. Well, try to, bad thing is you guys are online and not in the class. So there's a lot of distraction for you guys. So minimize your distraction. And please feel free to ask questions. Even if it's like, I just explained that 2 minutes ago and then I'm on to a new thing and you can stop me and say, hey, can you explain the previous thing? Because it's a human habit that sometimes our mind wanders away. And it's okay to, make me repeat something, that you missed out. I can only one, but this is more for a classroom setting. Online, it's not a problem. My number is this. You all have it. You can reach me between 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. If you have like explanation, or let's say interview came up, you want some prep, you want some a big chunk of time blocked. This is a good time for you to block my time, because Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, I have a job, so I'm on it. But after that, I'm available. Here's my toll-free number, and here's my email. But right now, I'm sending my email using Gmail account. I'm using that most, so feel free to use that email. Okay. What will be covered? I'm going to teach this methodology called Agile Scrum. This is something that it's related to process. Everyone has a different process of maybe making biryani at home. Okay. So your process is different than someone else's process, right? So same thing, Agile Scrum is a process of how you build the software. Okay. We'll talk about it. This is the process we'll be emphasizing more. There is another process called waterfall model, which is a very old model which a lot of companies are not following, and they are switching to Agile Scrum. So we'll put more emphasis on this. On waterfall, I have to teach you, but not in too detail. I'm going to go because it's the foundation of pretty much every IT training, because that's where things started to evolve from that process. What's in the course? Okay, so we will start with manual testing first, which is basically software testing, and these are the things we will be covering in your manual testing training course. Okay, then we will move to software quality assurance, and we'll cover all these different models, various testing frameworks. We'll go over risk analysis. So these are all QA part. So starting from here, software quality assurance, these are all QA topics. We will also learn how to estimate your project. Okay, because once a project is given to you, they'll say, hey, go ahead, estimate, right? Again, these are all parts of QA, and we'll also cover FDA regulated environment. May not be so important in Canada, but it may become important in a way for some of you. if you are working for a Canadian company that makes medical device, okay, and they're planning to sell it in US, then you need to know this. Okay, so I train on this. So this way, you're not missing any opportunity for jobs. You have all these. FDA stands for Food and Drug Administration, right? So any medical device that is sold in US has to be approved by FDA. Okay, so having some exposure to that will give you a definitely big leverage in the medical device industry also. We will learn Jira, we will learn Selenium IDE, we'll prepare for interview resume. Now, these are tools, okay? So these are the two tools you'll be learning in the class, okay? And we'll be preparing for interview and resume, okay? These are some comparison of salary of like, how much people are making per hour in each country. And you can see the reason behind the outsourcing. Now, testers are divided into two groups, manual testers and automation testers. This is automation testers page scale 99. Okay. And manual testers max you can make is $60. That's US, right? Canada, similar. The only thing is, I'm going to teach you automation a little bit, and I'm going to tell you what is automation also. I'm going to give you a quick demo on automation also, how it works, things like that. It may look easy, but little scary also, but don't worry, it all depends on how much effort you want to put. Okay, but keep in mind, the automation you will learn in the class will be not the hardcore automation person that will get you $99. The automation you will learn is something easy that you will be able to handle it, but you will not be like the hardcore automation person. Okay, this would be more like some tools I'll teach you to at least put you in a position like something is better than nothing. Okay, because automation training class, it's another 3.5 months of training by itself. Okay. All right. Questions so far?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right. So let's start with bullet number 1, quality. Do I need to teach what is quality? I'm sure you all know what is quality. You have been using it for quite some time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Let's move to software quality assurance. Okay, that was a trick question. In my class, if you don't ask question, I will start asking question. So
Go ahead.
now let me ask you, what is quality then? If you're saying you know it, then define what is quality.
Well, if it's a terminology, then I don't know what is quality. I was just going to make a note in my book saying this is a question I'll ask at the end of the class.
Okay. Okay, good one.
Right, so quality. Right. So we have to be very specific here, yeah? Because I could spin it a few ways, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, let's go your way. Like, how you perceive quality. Yeah.
If a Desi person was to ask me what quality is, I'd say in pure and simple terms, bhai meyar hota hai, right? It's
okay, but again, meyar is also quality.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But what I try to get across to the other person would be, it's oh well, all right. This is it's the value you're getting out of the product or service that you're getting, right? It's literally the value you're getting out of it. So, for instance,
very close. Very close.
what would you? Well, what would you coin it as, if you don't mind me asking?
You pretty much nailed it, I would say.
Because I mean, the reason I say value is because let's
Mhm.
say you get a product or a service. When you pay money for it, you're looking for two things. It can either be a kick-ass product or a service, or you can get a lot of it. Now, there's various ways to look at, the notion that I just presented to you. You can look at it from an addict's point of view, or you can look at it from a basic consumer's point of view. Now, the reason I say addict is a person who needs to buy that product and would essentially look at the quantity over the quality he's getting, or she's getting. Not to be sexist here. But if you're looking at it from a normal consumer, you'd look at the value you're retaining from purchasing the product or the service, in the first place.
Good.
So it
Okay.
can be the longevity of the product. It can be the robustness of the product. It could be anything really. It could be, yeah.
Very good, actually. You are pretty much, I would say, 90% correct. Okay, so here's the deal. Quality has two perspectives. One is the consumer perspective, which you were talking about. And the other perspective is from the people who are making the product, which is the producer's perspective. Okay. Producer's perspective is, if I meet your requirements, meaning the customer, then I'm producing quality product. Okay. On the consumer side, they are saying, if it's fit for my need, then it's a quality product, which you pretty much mentioned that, right? If I'm looking for robustness, if I'm looking for longevity, right? So basically you are saying, look, saying if it fits my need, it's a quality product, right? I mean, I can have a person who's using Samsung phone and person using iPhone. They may fight each other to say like, no, I'm right. This is the quality product, right? The thing is, both are right, because for Apple person, it suits their needs. That's why they're calling it quality product. For Samsung customers, they are saying it fit my needs. That's why they are so crazy about Samsung phone. Okay. So quality, it's very simple.
It's very subjective.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
not to cut you off there, but I mean, to make it a bit more concise, I'd say quality is very subjective, and it, much like beauty, lies within the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, but again, we have divided this beauty in two groups. One is
Oh yeah,
people who
for
are
sure.
making the product, and people
And
who are going to use the product. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
right. People who are making the product, their goal is, hey, I want to make sure I'm meeting the requirements of my customer, right? That's why if you walk into McDonald's, I mean, you will see there are a lot of people in line buying the food, and then you could have a fancy restaurant. There's a line out there also. And if you ask them, hey, how about McDonald's this evening? They'll be like, are you crazy, right? And people who are in McDonald's, they were like, nah, I don't need that. That's all just, you know, you know, messed up food, but just, presentation is nice. Everyone will have their own view, right? But the bottom line is, people going to McDonald's, they're saying, hey, it fits my need. I'm okay with this. I'm happy with this. So I'm, going for it. Cool. Okay. Any question before I move to the next one?
No questions.
Good so far, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's one more important thing. All this definition and terminologies I'm bringing either from my certification book, right, or from IEEE standards, which stands for Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers, Quality Assurance Institute, right, International Testing Certification Board. So you could be confident what the materials I'm giving you and information I'm giving you, it's pretty concrete. Let's go to the next point, which is software quality assurance. So let's start backwards on this three-letter word. Sorry, a three-word letter. So let's hit assurance first. When you hear the word assurance, what comes to your mind? How would you define assurance?
Something that's, safe,
Very good.
that you're confident about.
Yeah, you're confident. Exactly, you nailed it. Yeah, giving you assurance, giving you confidence, right?
Yeah,
You just learned about the quality, right?
that's
So
great.
assurance, you said, hey, this being how much confident or how much confidence I have in your product, right? Or your services. We learned just quality. So we can say, hey, we are talking about how much confidence I have in your quality, correct? If I just
Okay.
take the word quality assurance, right? But quality assurance could be on multiple things. It could be on food. It could be in a hospital. It could be in a factory that makes, let's say, cars. It could be a factory that makes shoes. It could be Starbucks. You're walking into Starbucks and you're like, how much confidence do you have that you will get a good coffee? Correct? But because we are dealing with softwares, that's why we are being very specific. Like, hey, we are talking about quality assurance, not for Starbucks coffee. We're talking about software over here. So now, thing is, we are talking about how much confidence do I have in Windows 10? Or how much confidence do I have in Microsoft Office? Right? These are software, correct? Or when I see this advertisement for Microsoft, this product is made by Microsoft, what kind of confidence I have versus when I see a billboard for a Google product or an Apple product, right? A software. That's what it's all about. Quality assurance, giving you the confidence about the software product. What is software? It's something that is not tangible. It's intangible thing, right? Like hardware, it's tangible, your keyboard, your mouse,
Fantastic. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
software is nothing but a list of instructions that goes to your microprocessor. Okay. Think like you have a person who joined new to your company and you have a book with list of instructions in it, how to handle different situations. That's what software is for a computer or a microprocessor. Okay. Now, this list of instructions that has been written for your microprocessor, how much can we be confident that it is awesome or it may fail during certain situations? That we need to see.
Okay.
Okay. So anything related to improving the software, like the process by which we build the software, is called quality assurance. So quality assurance is basically evaluating your process. Why does all these name brands and like franchises, you see Starbucks, okay, I'm going to have coffee there. Let it be in Toronto or let it be in Vancouver, it will taste the same, right? When you see that, you know exactly, okay, this is what I'm going to get for like my $10 or $8, versus some mom and pop shop that you just happen to come across and you're like, how much is the coffee? Oh my God, they're $10, same as Starbucks. Now you start to like, I don't know, what if it is not the right coffee? I'm going to lose my $10, right? That's where this assurance is pointing to. Now, what are you good at, Hamid, in terms of cooking? If I were to talk about cooking and you say, hey, tell me, what are you good at when it comes to cooking?
So I'm
What
going to be
dish would
honest.
that be?
Grilled cheese, my man.
Grilled
Straight
cheese.
up.
Okay, straight up. Okay. What about you, Samina?
Not to brag or anything, I'm I'm an excellent cook. I cook numerous types of biryani. In
Okay.
fact, I have a YouTube cooking channel too.
Nice, nice. What is your best, like, where people rave, like, oh, you gotta have this
Biryani,
biryani? Okay. Any particular biryani?
Bombay style biryani.
Bombay
Bombay
style
biryani.
biryani. Okay. Um, so here's my question to you. Let's say I'm giving you a contract to cook biryani for an entire year, okay, every day. So you'll be cooking biryani for 100 people,
Mhm.
okay? Tell me what percent of, so the first day I come to your place and you gave me a sample. I
Okay.
tried that sample and I said, like, yeah, this is it. I want to go for this Bombay style biryani for
Mhm.
1 year and 100 people every day.
Okay.
So we sign a deal and done. Now tell me, out of that 365 times you're going to make biryani for 100
Mhm.
people, what percentage of the time it will taste exactly the same as the sample that you gave me?
Well,
Give me a gut feel percentage.
60%.
60% of the time it will be good.
Yeah. Hmm.
So your quality assurance is really bad, actually. So
I
basically
know.
you're saying, okay, basically you're saying, Hussein, if I'm going to run a hospital, 40% of the people will die because of my
Right.
mistakes,
Yeah.
right? Or you can say, like, out of 100 people walking into Starbucks, 40 people will be unhappy with my coffee, right?
That's right.
If I'm an ATM, out of 1,000 transaction that goes into my ATM every day, which is very less, right?
Mm.
400 transaction will be wrong, which means somebody will deposit check and I will not register that, right? I'll dispense money, but I'll not record, right? Or somebody
Right.
will deposit some cash, I will not record. Or this money will get deposited into somebody else's account, or
Mhm.
the money you withdrew got withdrawn from somebody else's account. So
Okay.
that's 40% of the time that will happen, right? That's a very bad
That's
situation.
correct.
Now,
Hmm.
let's look into the process of how you make biryani. Surely there is problem there. What can you do to improve this from 60 to maybe 70 or 80%?
Yeah. Actually, lay down all the ingredients, the method, be clear, follow the
Very good.
steps, time them.
Yeah, yeah. You may even lock down on the vendor from where you're picking up spices.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The ingredients as well, the raw
Yeah.
materials.
You will start. You may even put some like, now that you have a big contract coming in, you'll be like, no, I mean 60% is not going to cut.
Yes.
I need to hire some people. Maybe these people will go and talk to the company that are making spices and whatnot. Ask them, like, hey, we'll be buying bulk from you, and we want this type of rice every time.
Yeah.
Correct?
Consistency. Exactly.
Consistency, yes. Yeah, yeah. You will document your procedure, process, everything. Maybe you have a checklist now to put up all the spices in front of you, measure it, and go through checklist to make sure it's there, right? And when you start doing that, you can easily say now, like, hey, Hussein, chances are 90% of the time I will meet that. So that's what quality assurance is all about.
Yeah.
It's all about evaluating your process, okay? And based on that, you decide whether to improve the process or stay with the current process you have. Let's say if you were like saying 99.999% of the time my biryani is going to taste the same, then chances are you don't need any improvement in your process,
Hmm.
right?
That's right.
And this is what it is. Even if you go and look at the process, that you may say like, oh my God, McDonald's food is just garbage food. They have very good quality assurance in place. They even measure the size of onion slice so that it fits properly on the burger.
Wow.
Same thing goes with tomato. That tomato has to be certain size,
It's constructed. It's a
yeah,
constructed burger every time.
yeah. So the process is so, like documented, and so like, it's done repetitively, in like in set ways. Everything is measured and set vendors. And that is why you go McDonald's maybe in New York or versus Los Angeles, it will taste the same. And why they're doing this, they want to make sure that customer is confident when they walk into the store or into that restaurant. Okay. So if I tell you what is quality assurance, you will say, hey, it's when you evaluate the process. Process evaluation is quality assurance. It's all about the process, not about the product yet. In quality assurance, you don't evaluate the product, you evaluate the process. Now, software testing, on the other hand, is about evaluating the process. When you take a sip of coffee, or when you take a spoon of biryani and eat and then evaluate, that is evaluating the product. That is called testing. If you take thermometer and you measure the temperature of the biryani, right, you are testing biryani. Why? Because you want to evaluate the product. What is the temperature of the product? If you're testing how well cooked your chicken is, so you're evaluating the product again, that is testing. See the difference between quality assurance and testing? When you evaluate a product, that is called testing. When you evaluate a process, that is called quality assurance. Okay. So what happens when you do testing? Let's say you're testing the rice in biryani and you realize, hey, it's not nicely cooked. We need to cook a little bit more, right? You have found a defect in the biryani. And the defect is, hey, the rice is not properly cooked. Need to boil a little bit longer. Okay. Or you did a testing of, the first batch of biryani and you're like, hey, it's a little salty. You just, how you found out salty? Because you tasted it, right? So you just evaluated the product and you said, hey, it's salty. Okay, what can we do? Okay, put a little bit more rice and whatnot, and balance the salt. You fix the problem, but now you have to sit on the table and decide why it became salty. What went wrong in the process that was salty, that it became salty? Now, the moment your diversion goes away from product and into the process to find out why this happened, what can we do so it doesn't happen again in future? So now you're focusing on the process. When you do that, you're doing quality assurance work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So quality assurance is about preventing defects.
Okay.
Testing is about detecting defects. As a tester, the more defects you find, you are a great tester. The more you find, the better tester you are. But if more defects are found in your product, the person who set up the process is under attack. They are in trouble. Correct? And something is wrong with the process. That's why there are so many defective products. Like you just mentioned, right? That 60% I can give you confidence.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we definitely need to improve the process. Because why? 40% of the time, it's either becoming very spicy, or it's not warm enough, or the rice was not boiled properly, or it was too salty. Those things are coming up 40% of the time. So what do? You start placing testers in the process. Hey, check the quality of the rice before you boil. Check the temperature of the water before you put the rice in there. You will see the problem starts to happen. Because of when defects happens, you will see there are two reasons for it. One reason is you don't have good process in place.
Mhm.
Okay. Second reason is maybe you have a good process, but people are not following the process. When you have these two situations, your defects rate will go higher. Okay. You see the difference in the mindset? Quality assurance is about preventing defects. Testing is about detecting defects. The more defects a tester finds, the better they look. So how can you have one person do the same thing where you're telling one mindset, hey, improve the process so defects would not be found? And then on the other hand, when you wear the tester's hat, I'm telling you, make sure you find as many defects as you can, because we don't want customers to have defective product. And that's why I was saying, like, hey, even though in industry it is used synonymously, but these two are different fields, and they both have opposite mindset. They're pretty much opposite to each other. Okay. But I can show you so many proofs that people use them synonymously. They even use the word QA tester as one word. Honestly, tell me, now that you know the difference between QA and testing, when you hear the word QA tester, it's pretty much telling me that you are a tester who tests QA. Like if I say you are a hardware tester, it means you are testing hardware. If I say you're a software tester, you're testing software, right? If I say you are electrical tester, so I'm thinking you're testing something electrical related. But if I say you are a QA tester, it means you are testing QA. We don't test QA. We always test a product. Now, if you want me to do both the jobs, let's say you want me to do QA job and testing job, put a slash. Say QA/tester needed. Don't say QA tester needed. Because when you do that, basically you're saying, I want a tester who will test the QA. Why you want to test the QA? I mean, you don't make any product. Is your product QA, right? So even that word is so like, I mean, I have no words to describe that. It's so bad thing to do. And they do it openly with all the pride. QA tester needed. If you go and look at the job openings, that's what you will see.
Yeah,
QA
I've seen
analyst
that.
needed, QA tester needed. And
Yeah.
actually, when you read the job description, there is not a single activity related to QA. Everything is related to testing. Cool? Make sense? So lesson learned here is when I'm teaching my class, I take the seat of a dictator, and I ban you from going on YouTube channel or going to some website and trying to learn software testing and quality assurance online, because there is so much wrong information out there. There are some good information, but a whole lot is wrong information. And I started doing this because I realized some of my students were lost in the class. Why? And these were good students who were putting more time. Like most of the students, they have this habit. Actually, a habit of a good student is they don't just rely on what is being taught in class, especially now that you have internet, right? In olden days, they may go to library and read books on it. Besides what the teacher is teaching, you know what, I'm going to spend extra time. But now you guys have extra time. You don't go to library. Instead, you say, oh, let me watch a YouTube thing on this, or let me read some uh, book or papers or some article or a blog. Guess what? There's so much wrong information out there. And people who are putting those information, they're saying, Oh, I have 12 years of experience as a tester, and I know it's right. Guess what? People with that attitude, when they go for certification, close to 67% of people are failing certification because of that mindset. The book world is very different from the practical world. Okay. And that's why I keep telling in the class, look, all this information I'm giving you is coming from the book world. So at least your definition terminology should be solid. Chances are when you will go for an interview, when it comes to terminology and the theoretical aspect, you will know more than the person asking you in the interview. Okay. Because this person will be telling you based out, they'll be asking you questions based on their experience. Not every company are following things by the book. And you will learn this more in the class. Okay. So being a dictator, I'm banning both of you not to touch any material online on your own. If you feel like you have found something interesting, let me know. Let me verify this, and then you go through it. Okay.
For sure. Don't worry about it, sir.
Yeah. But there will be so much information available for you, reading materials and books and whatnot that I'll be recommending. Chances are you should be good. And in case if you find something, just send it my way. Let me verify this information. Okay. And during my training, I will be pointing out like, hey, this is where the people are putting wrong information out there, and this is how you should be answering it. Okay. Now, keep in mind when you go for interview, if you tell the person interviewing you that no, sorry, what you're asking is wrong. This is the right way. You may, offend, right? Hurt their ego, and the end thing is you will not get the job. So your goal is to get job, not go and fight and say, look, you're right. You could be right, but you'll still not get the job. So what's the use, right? So I have to train you how to tread those waters. And so, yeah. So these are a few things I tell initially. And I'll show you all a video clip after I train you on all these things. Maybe in my second session, tomorrow, I'll be showing you a video and I'll ask you, can you tell me what this person is teaching incorrect? Okay. Okay. And chances are most of the time, like 70-80% of my students, they will be able to easily nail it. Okay. Question. Do you all need any more clarification like difference between software quality assurance and software testing?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Let me throw a situation for both of you. So remember, I said a few things about. Let me tell you a few more. So the difference between software quality assurance and testing, I said, software testing is about defect detection, and software quality assurance is about defect prevention. Right? Software quality assurance is about process evaluation. Testing is about product evaluation. Right? Testing is reactive. Quality assurance is proactive. Okay. So quality assurance, if you improve the process, you are preventing defects, basically, correct?
Correct.
So that's why you're proactive. Proactive doesn't mean that quality assurance person gets up in the morning and says, hey, guess what? God came in my dream and he said, don't do this because you will have more failures. That's not what proactive is. Proactive means basically you did a mistake, something went wrong, you fixed your process so it doesn't happen again. Okay. Reactive is like, you're finding it and you're reporting it. As you find, you just report. You're not doing anything about it. Okay. When the problem happens, that's when you're acting. You're not preventing it from happening. Okay. So that's the difference between proactive and reactive. Okay. So it's good, clear. Now I'm going to go for my question to both of you. So I kind of reviewed, okay, to make sure you guys have all the information. So before I ask the question is, let's say we are in business of assembling PCs, personal computers. Okay. Hamid is responsible for taking the computer chassis, right? Put in the power supply in there, put the motherboard and RAMs and everything, then pass it to Samin, right? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Samin, right? Is
Samina.
it Samina? Sorry, yeah. So, and Samina, what she does is she takes the connectors, the electrical connectors, and she connects to the board. Okay, closes the cabinet. Okay, and she passes to me. Now, my job is to connect this computer to the monitor, keyboard, mouse, and test it out to make sure it's done correctly. I mean, it's working correctly, and then ship it to the customer. Okay, so I'm the last person in line testing the computer. And then suddenly I take this class on difference between quality assurance and testing. And I go to my boss and I say, hey, increase my salary. And the boss is like, why, Hussein? Why you want more money now? And I'm like, guess what? I learned in the class that software testing is about defect detection and software quality assurance is about defect prevention. Guess what? I'm doing both the things. I'm detecting defects because I'm the last person who's testing it. So I'm a tester, but I'm preventing defects from going to the customer. So I'm doing the QA job also. Can you increase my salary because I'm doing job of two individuals? I'm preventing defects from going to the customer. And also I'm testing the computer. So how would you answer, both of you, if situation something like this comes up?
Before I answer, Hussein, can I just ask you to repeat what Samina was doing in the whole process? I'm assembling
Okay. So
the hardware, right?
you're taking the chassis, right?
Right. Yeah,
You're
exactly.
you take the power supply, screw the power supply to the chassis.
Yep.
You screw the motherboard,
Yep.
okay? And then you put all the cards that are necessary for the motherboard.
All right.
And pass it to Samina, right?
Right.
Now, Samina needs to take the cable from the power supply and put it in the board, okay?
Okay. Okay.
She will connect all the other wires like speaker wires and microphone wires, whatnot, USB connector, all that stuff. Then
Yep.
she will close the enclosure and
Yep.
give it to me.
All right.
And me, I get this whole computer, I plug it into my monitor and mouse and keyboard, and I test the computer by first turning on the power and then doing the rest of the test.
Right.
So
okay, so all right.
So you and Samina are assemblers.
All right. Okay,
and I'm the tester.
All right. So by virtue, if it's okay if I answer, I think what you'd be talking to your boss about might be correct, because I'm a bit confused here, and I'll tell you where. Now, the reason I think it's correct is because, look, you're getting the motherboard without it have been tested before, without Samina connecting it to a computer and actually seeing if it works. If it doesn't work, she figures out where it's going wrong. She proactively changes anything she needs to fiddle with, and then she passes it on to you. If that were the case in the conveyor belt of sort, or down the chain of command, your boss could have made the case and said, hey, you know what, listen, Zen, there's already a person in the mix who's doing half the job you're saying you're doing. And so instead of paying you twice the amount, why don't I just pay that amount to Samina over there?
Okay, so right? Samina will say, fine, pay me because I'm preventing defects from going down to Hussein.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Go ahead,
but
pay Samina double.
But because you're getting the you're getting the whole thing, you're getting the CPU, and you connect it into the monitor to make sure it's running, right? And Samina hasn't tested it and hasn't tested anything before. I'd say you're correct, because in essence, you're the one who's like, okay, yeah, if there is a problem, I can't ship it out. So you're going to send it back to Samina proactively and say, this is the problem I have identified. Once you do fix it, I'll test it again. If it works, I'll ship it out. So you are testing the end product, and you're also proactively making sure there aren't any defects. So I think the salary should go to you. Yeah.
Okay. So then you're basically saying then software quality assurance and software testing are same, can be done by the same person.
Well, in this case, aren't they being done by the same person?
Actually, in every case,
Yeah,
like
they're
even if
being.
you
Yeah,
take a case of a restaurant model,
yeah.
This person who's testing the food to make sure customer gets, the right food, right tasting food, this person, you have to pay him him or her extra salary now.
Yeah, because
So
that
the whole
person will not
training
let
that I
it fly
did,
out.
and I
Yeah.
emphasized that no, testing is different. Actually, it's opposite to QA. It's coming down to saying like, Hussein, I think you were teaching something incorrect here, because testers should be paid for QA also.
Right. No, but yeah, but the thing is, the point of having a person behind the tester, so a quality assurance guy, is to make sure that when you're passing it along to the endpoint, there aren't any mistakes to begin with, right? So you have to make sure that everything's so streamlined from the get-go that it doesn't cause a problem for the final consumer, or even the person shipping it out to the consumer, or testing it before shipping it out to the consumer. Because the idea of having a tester in place is to make sure, hey, we already have been working so long to make sure our process is streamlined. So instead of just playing it by chance because we feel like we're doing a good job, let's just have a person to tell us, yeah, you are doing a good job. But if that person is coming back telling you, you know what, you're messing up somewhere, what's the point of having all that experience and putting in all that effort and having a process to begin with, right? Then you can just fluke it and say, you know what, hey, we'll have like 5 guys here doing this, 5 guys here doing that, and let's just see what comes of it, right? So the fact that any business
How about let's do one thing. Let's
Yeah.
summarize what you're saying, because you're giving me so much information, I'm unable to process it. So
Yeah.
you are saying the last person in line should be paid more because he or she is doing 2 roles.
Yeah, in essence, but you do have quality assurance guys for a different reason. Obviously, like you said, you have to make sure that there isn't any errors in the
So
process.
what do you think the QA person is doing in that company?
You just got 2 guys doing the same thing, and honestly, that's where I'm shook as well.
Okay, so yeah, it was meant to throw you guys off.
Yeah.
How about you, Samina? What is your response on this question?
Yeah, I was actually confused too, because initially the question that came to my mind was, did Samina actually do all the checking? First of all, because we didn't get that question answered in the first place. And did the last person, did this person, do both the things, quality assurance and testing? And how do we know that he did both the things? Because we know that he connected the monitor, the keyboard, and the CPU, and just got the computer started and up and running. But does that mean he also did the QA part?
Okay. So here's the deal. The question is, who placed the tester in the end? Whose decision was it?
It was the employers. That's the thing.
So employer meaning the CEO or someone else in the chain?
Yeah, well,
The manager?
the human resources. Human resources.
Human resource will not know anything about the process. You'd go and tell human resource, hey, we need a tester and a QA. They'll say, okay, we'll send out a job post and we'll get for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's the QA person.
Okay.
Why? Because QA, they evaluate the process.
The process. All right.
So think like before your company, there were 2 people. One was you and there's a second was Samina. And you both guys were shipping it to the customer, and customer started to complain. Then the QA person said like, hey, we need to stop this. What's going on here? Okay, let's put a tester.
Yeah.
So the job of a tester was done by a tester. But who made the decision to hire a tester and put the tester in the end?
That was the QA guy.
Exactly. See, a tester job is to find defects and report defects. Even though defects were found, the tester never came up to the boss and said, hey, how about we tell Samina to start testing before she closed the cabinet? What kind of testing she should do?
That's the
Tell
point
her
of the
to
QA guy.
wiggle the cable a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell her to make sure, do one check that everything is snapped in correctly before closing the enclosure. Because as a tester, the last person I tested, when I turned on the computer, half of them never turned on. And we realized that inside the power cable was not connected properly. Had she pushed it a little bit harder, would have been good. So let's put a tester maybe before, like, tell Samina to add in her process, not just put things, but the second step would be press everything one more time. Then I would have said, okay, this tester is doing a QA job too. But no, this tester was doing his or her job and they were finding defects. And that's the reason QA person said, like, hey, I need to put a person there. There's a difference between being proactive, right? To say, look, preventing defects from going to the customer is by manipulating the process, not being part of the process to do the job. See, testers, we are part of that process. Who put us there? A QA person appointed us to do testing. If, let's say, we want to, by putting a tester in the end, we realize even the power supply was not screwed in properly, because one of the tester job was to hold the PC and shake it. And when they start shaking it, they suddenly heard like power supply inside the thing fell off. So now we are like, let's put a tester between Hamid and Samina, because then the job of this tester would be, once Hamid is done, he will pass it to the tester, and the tester will make sure, and he will do a shake test before giving it to Samina to make sure nothing falls off. Because if something falls off, it's better to fix it at that point rather than fixing in the end, because in the end, what's happening is once this power supply comes loose, not only the power supply is out, now it has destroyed the board inside also. Okay, so that's what QA person is working, preventing defects, trying to save money for the company. And here's one more example, let me give you, of testing early versus testing towards the end. Okay, when you're building a product, there are opportunities of inserting or injecting defect in your process. And then there are opportunities in process you as a QA has to create to detect those defects that got injected into your product along the way. If the duration between the injection and detection is small, you will spend less money to fix it. But as the time increases or more process gets involved in between injection and detection, then fixing the problem becomes more expensive. Now, to put it in some example, or to give you an analogy, let's say I'm an architect. You both come to me and say, hey, Hussein, we want a custom home. So I draw a blueprint, give it to you guys. You guys build the house, and it's last day, I'm handing you the keys. You guys take the key, you walk inside the house, and the kitchen is missing. It's going to be very expensive now to put a kitchen inside a home, inside a house that is already built. Correct? Why? Because the defect got injected when me as an architect forgot to put a kitchen inside the blueprint. And then later on, it went all the way to building a house, and inside the house, when you went in, you found the issue. But let's say, had you put some kind of inspection that after I make a blueprint, I go back to you as my customer, you take a look inside, look at the blueprint, make sure looks good, this is exactly what you want, and then we give it to builder. Had we done that, you would have found the mistake right then and there on the blueprint, and would have asked me like, hey, Hussein, where's the kitchen? I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to put the kitchen in. So just redraw the kitchen inside that blueprint would have been much easier and less expensive versus now building a kitchen inside that house. Correct?
Correct.
So let's say, so now we learned our lesson from our first failure, right? So now the QA will say like, no, let's put some checks before we get the house. But now let's say instead of putting all the way at the end of the house check, when you give the keys, they said, let's put it when the, when we put the walls, this is like little before finishing. Even at that point, if I find the kitchen is missing, still is more expensive. Less expensive than putting the roof and everything and then showing, right? But still more expensive. And you will see as we move it towards the beginning of the process, the check and finding defect at that point will be less expensive as we move up, right? So if you move all the way to blueprint, that's the lowest expense defect for us, because there was an opportunity to insert a defect and it got injected. But guess what? We had a check immediately after that. So we detected it also. So now the loss is less, right? But if you push it to the foundation part, that on the once foundation is done, then the check will happen, it's going to cost more now than the blueprint, because now, when you, before you put the concrete foundation, you have to run the pipes, like the drain pipes and plumbing, whatnot, under the concrete or whatever, right? Or at least the drain pipes. You don't have now drainage for the kitchen. So yeah, it's less expensive than building the house and delivering it and then finding the kitchen not there. But it's more expensive than catching the issue in the blueprint. So same thing applies to software also. If a customer finds it, it's super expensive to fix the defect. Okay. But you as a tester, if you find before customer, is less expensive. But again, in the early phases of your development of the product, if you find it, then it's even less and less expensive. Okay. So now this is the job of QA person, to see where we should be putting all these testers in place. And tester is just performing the job of catching the defect. That's it. It may sound like they're preventing defects from going from there further down the stream, but thing is, the reason they got hired and they're sitting and doing the job was because of that QA person. So they cannot claim, I need to get paid. If they change their mindset and they say like, hey boss, we are finding this many defects, I think we should do some change in the process and put somebody else before me or something like that. Or maybe we should go and talk to Samina, maybe we need to retrain her how to push the cable, or maybe get her a tool so she doesn't get tired. How that she's not pushing hard enough the connectors because she's getting tired? Oh, because towards the end of the day I'm seeing these more defects, but early morning most of those are passed. See, all this analysis on the process and things like that and coming up with the solution, this is what a QA does. If a tester starts to do that, then I'll say, yeah, this guy is also doing a QA job, give him a raise. But this guy was not doing anything. He was just following the instruction and finding defects. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, Susan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So don't just get hooked on to defect prevention. Like, no. Anybody who prevents defect, no.
Yep.
The process was designed to prevent defects by putting a tester there.
Understood.
Okay. Is it clear for you, Samina?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to attack the difference between QA and tester because you can get challenged like this. At Toyota Motors, in their IT department, I was surprised when someone challenged me for this part. They said, no, QA and tester are same. And they put me in that exact situation that I just described.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. And I was surprised, like Toyota is so famous for the quality, but all that quality is applied towards the manufacturing. That was not on the IT side. And I was surprised this lady was talking to me with like such, first of all, she had a lot of ego and like confidence to say something wrong when I'm trying to tell her that this is what. So I had to get into that mode of explaining her the whole 9 yards. And guess what? I didn't get the job. And that was my second thing. First time I got the job at Toyota, and I turned it down. And then after 4 or 5 years, another position came. I'm like, okay, let me go and apply. And I thought I'll get it, like walk in the park. And I confronted this one lady, and she was very adamant, like, no, she's right. So yeah, in a way, it's good because now the Toyota, they moved out of California. So, well, long story short, there are people out there who will challenge you, but I want to make sure, things are very clear for you. You guys should know exactly. This is basically the foundation. Okay. One more situational question. Let's say you guys are in Canada. What we have, FedEx is there, right? It's an American company. What else do you have for delivery?
We have DHL.
Ah, DHL, yeah.
We have
Okay.
all major companies. We have UPS.
Well, Canada Post is really big.
Canada Post is big, yeah, true. Let's say you guys from Canada Post hired me.
Yeah.
And you hired me for the reason that your truck drivers, the delivery folks.
Yeah. It's usually, well, we've got Purolator as well. That's quite big here too. Yeah, so they usually have like delivery trucks.
Delivery trucks, right? They are having accidents.
Yeah.
Right. And when an accident happens, everything is thrown off for a month. Like the car goes for repair. There is this insurance thing. You have to deal with the paperwork and blah, blah, blah. It takes about a month.
All right.
And you hired me for a solution. And I said, oh, you know what? No worries. I have a perfect solution for this. I'll engage with IT department. And guess what? I come up with an app for your drivers. That God forbid if the accident happens, they start the app, they take the photos, click submit button. And what this app does is takes the location, takes the photo, submits the paperwork to the insurance folks. Ambulance is sent on ASAP. Tow truck is sent. All this because of that app.
Basically, it does all of it. Like instead of that individual having to call all these different departments, it streamlines the whole.
Yeah. And what happens? The result is now you can put back the truck in 2 weeks instead of a month on the road. Everything is done faster. 2 weeks, everything is done.
That's brilliant. Okay.
Right. And, I showed this app to you. You guys are using it. You see it's effective. Yeah. Hussein, you really cut down from 1 month to 2 weeks. Awesome job. Now, should you guys hire me as a full-time employee and award me with something for accomplishment or something? Or should you say like, man, that was such a dumb idea, Hussein. You really actually, did nothing for us. What should you say to me?
Well, you did a really good job. Yeah. That's what I'd say.
Okay. What about you, Samina?
Yeah, me. I would do the same.
Okay. But here comes Nasir. You both know Nasir, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there you go. So I'm going to use a third person, Nasir. He comes and says, wait a minute. Let me sit down and do some analysis. He takes the data on accidents. And he comes up with the process and he says, you know what? Let's reprogram the GPS for drivers. What do you want to do here, Nasir? He'll say, what I noticed that 80% of the time the accidents are happening when the truck drivers are making left turn on the intersection. So the way I'm going to program the GPS, when they follow their GPS to the destination, it will always make them do right turns, no more left turns. So basically, I'm going to eliminate all the left turn accidents, which is 80% of the time. So 80% of the times those accidents will never even happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, without you even having to in this conversation, is saying I think Nasir's doing a better job, so you can pack your bags.
There you go. See, defect prevention is better than the cure.
Yeah, I mean, they always say like
prevention is better than cure, right? So So see, we need to come out of that mindset. Oh, defects are happening. Okay, we don't have time to fix. Let's hire more developers. Let's find a tool to fix it faster.
Yeah.
That's the wrong mindset. This
That's
is
like,
where the QA come in.
I'm sorry, you're saying that's like the Canadian government saying, you know what, instead of fixing the homeless problem, we're going to help the homeless.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
That
it's
we
messed
are
up, man. I swear to
focusing
God.
on trying to fix the problem rather than like finding a solution, so the problem
Oh, they
doesn't
don't,
even
yeah.
happens.
Funding, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
that's the idea.
yeah, that's what a QA person is doing.
Mhm.
Makes sense, Samina?
Yes.
So I should be fired then, right?
Oh, 100%. And I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to sack you.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the sad part. And I'll tell you why this is happening in software industry. My background is in hardware testing also. I started as a hardware tester actually. In Motorola, testing. Even before that, Motorola, I was in hardware testing for audiometer. Basically, this was a machine that would test your hearing level to decide what kind of hearing aid you need, right? And then move to Motorola. That was all cell phone related, right?
Mhm.
So I'm coming from a very strong hardware testing background also. And
Right.
the difference between hardware testing and software testing, why hardware quality assurance is taken more seriously than software, because when there is a problem in hardware, there is a recall.
Okay.
You must have seen the recall for X amount of cars.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like for instance, there was this laptop series I remember because well, I used to be a tech guy back in the day, and there was this Inspiron that they came out with, the Dell line. It was the one with the carbon fiber on it. Now the laptop came out, and I had like a bunch of mates get the thing, and they were complaining about the battery packs.
Yeah.
And like lo and behold, like a few weeks later, there's a recall for about, I think it was 200,000 units or something,
There
but
you go.
across the Asia region, right? Because the battery packs were just they were faulty, they'd overheat.
And then what process you have to go through? You have to change the batteries and all that
Oh,
stuff, right?
they changed the whole line, I think.
Yeah.
But it was a bad mess up.
So, but what happens when there is a problem in software? They say, oh, just download the patch.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to take your computer physically or something like that. Just install the patch and it should be okay. And that's what people do it. And that's why there's not much emphasis on QA. It's not
Certainly,
taken
yeah.
so seriously compared to hardware, which is good. That's why we have so many testers. So companies are in that mindset of, oh, a product is defective, let's hire more testers.
Yeah.
Let's hire more developers. They're getting into that mindset, which is fine. I don't care. I mean, I need a paycheck.
Sure, yeah.
Right. All right. I'll stop at this point. It's 10 o'clock now. I have my other class starting.
All right, for sure.
So today we just covered 3 bullet points: quality, software corrections, and software testing. Tomorrow we'll get into number 4 and 5. Number 4 is very important because that's what you guys will be doing. That's your bread and butter.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, for sure.
All right.
Thank you very much, Hassan. It was
Questions,
a pleasure talking to
concerns
you.
before we stop the class? I hope I can answer.